Yeah, it seems to happen. I play a little D&D attack wing on the side, probably like everybody else. And anytime there's one of those deals where I got to roll against myself, it just bam, I just murder myself horribly and seem to miss the other guy.
Oh yeah.
Because that
That's
happens more in that game than this one, because you can roll against yourself.
that's always fun. All right.
What definition of always fun are you using?
The same definition that makes thousands of people play poker championships. The thrill of victory on the roll of a die. Well, I mean, not exactly, but
Yeah, I'm here for the deck building aspect. I mean, fleet building.
it's a little bit better. Hey, it's still better. It's still better than X-wing, from what I understand. Well, from my point of view. Yeah. So
I
that's
prefer this game to X-Wing is the deck building aspect that it doesn't give.
Yeah. I
yeah.
will say that X-Wing probably now is getting a little bit more deck building just because of the third faction. But that's another podcast.
Indeed.
Well, I mean-
we are moving.
I mean-
we are on to Canadian Nationals. Canadian Nationals were just this last weekend.
Joseph's in the chat. He says Meteor Showers was in the final in Canada.
You almost just said Canada, didn't you?
I did almost say Canada.
I believe in the
Canadian
Republic of
was
Canada.
Canadian Nationals, and then I was like in Canada.
So what was the? I
Yes.
haven't seen. What was the build that won the Canadian Nationals or Canada Nationals?
All right. Let's see. So from what I understand, I'm not sure if this was the one or this was the alteration of the one, but I've got here Sphere 4270 with Car from the Herodian Hunter and Transwarp Signal. Another Borg Sphere with another Transwarp Signal. A Romulan science vessel with Julian Bashir and a set of cloaked mines. And a sideboard with Feedback Pulse, Jean-Luc, and 4 of 5.
Yeah, that's correct. That's the Canadian winner.
Is it? Excellent. So, Car, of course, is the one that converts a blank to a hit, so a little bit of free damage manipulation there. Skill 6? No, am I thinking of the wrong guy? That's Alpha Herodian. Car does... What does Car do? Car is the 8th skill that gives you a bonus every turn if you're fighting someone of lower skill.
That's the one.
Yeah, you can reroll one of your attack die twice, and if your captain skill's greater, then you get a bonus attack die.
Yes.
Yeah, so what this list says to me is that this is, guys, if you want to talk about metagaming, this is the most metagaming list I have ever seen. The transwarp signals, I remember from the Facebook thread, are specifically designed to fight warp and fighters, giving him an APT so he can't activate the fighter's attack. And the Car is specifically metagaming against people who use low skill captains via officer exchange or no skill no captain at all in order to cram more Borg or fighters into their builds. This is a guy who I look at this. I look at this build and say, this guy expected to see a lot of triple spear and a lot of double spear, double fighters. And I'm guessing he did because, wow.
Mm-hmm. So the poor, sad part of the Canadian Nationals was there was only a grand total of like 6 people.
Oh man!
But still a Canadian champion nonetheless. Let's see.
Peter Smith, I think, was his name.
Yeah. Which,
Peter?
sadly, we know nothing about him, because he's not on the forums and he's not on Board Game Geek.
He doesn't exist. The only reason we know about him is because of Joe.
Yeah.
Wait, Joe? Did I mess up your,
Can
name, J.D. Vander Yacht again?
No, it's Joseph, I think.
Joseph. Yes.
Like, yeah. So can we say yo? Is that a thing?
Yo, Joseph.
Okay. You know what? I'm sorry. I apologize. I shouldn't. I am the last person in the world who should be making fun of people's names.
Poor Trip.
So that's the only build that is being posted right now that was in there. Nobody else knows what anything else.
There were a couple quick reviews. There was a Romulan build with Scimitar, Valdor, Science Vessel, and Gul Madred.
I'm willing to bet that came in dead last.
There was a double Fed fighter with Sphere Picard and ISS Enterprise with Worf.
Presumably with Tantalus Field as well.
That'd be cool.
And then
a copy of your build.
Daniel, your build was in there too.
And some random Federation pure build, not exactly sure what was in it. One guy copied Daniel's build right off the group page. Nice. We've got Joseph in the chat right now even.
Yeah. Well, hey, imitation is the greatest form of flattery.
Oh, yeah, build I took, for his it looks like just nothing but throwing a bunch of dice, but really there's a lot of keeping things together in that has to make it possible. And you one wrong move and you get caught up where you can't get that Worf move in there. Kind of puts
right.
That. So you got to be a pretty decent pilot to fly it. You can't just hope to go out there and throw a bunch of dice and hope that's going to get it for you, unless you just get lucky that day and everything's hitting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that's something I've tried to stress to people is there are things you can net list in this game, but you have to fly it before you take it to a tournament.
Yeah,
you have to be comfortable with it, especially on a nationals level, because if you just show up, you're not going to do anything, because you got to be comfortable flying your list. And something like what you've put together has been honed. Everything in there is there for a reason. Something like this winning list, everything there is there for a specific reason.
Right, exactly. And well, to be fair, now let's be entirely fair here. A lot of the cards in here are just randomly good cards.
Mm-hmm. Before we get too much farther, since we do have Joseph in the chat, Joseph, you were one of the guys that helped work on this build. Let us know a little bit about, kind of the basic strategy you guys had going into the games. Like, what were your priority targets and things like that, depending on who you went up against. And then once we get that in the chat, we will talk about that. What were you saying, Tucker?
I was just saying, a lot of the stuff in this build, in fairness, is just randomly good. Like, Transwarp Signal will just randomly win you games at times. Second of 5, getting rid of an opponent's upgrade is never bad.
It's not second of 5, it's fourth of 5.
Oh, which one's that? That's a disable shield, right?
That's the, disable up to 2 shields, and then 2 upgrades of your choice on that ship.
Okay, so disabling upgrades is never bad. Picard is never bad. It's just all of those tools are skill-intensive tools. It's not like
feedback
we're just...
is never bad.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But knowing...
attack negation's always good.
Right, but knowing when to feedback pulse is a bit of an art.
It is.
Yeah, you got to get the right one, and I really like the little tech on here with bringing Julian Bashir in on the Romulan Science Bus. It's like, well, once it's dropped his cloak mine, Science Vessel really isn't doing anything else. I mean, it doesn't have a buffer on it. The cheapest way to make it useful is to say, hey, I'm over here, you have to shoot at me, even though you don't want to.
I mean, I might want that to be Mendak nowadays, but...
Mendak.
Yeah, a lot of times you see what Denatra back there trying to buff and stay clear.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But then you have to actually have Denatra stay close and...
Yeah, you got to stay close, but stay clear.
Right. And then she's maybe predictable in where she's going to be because she's not as maneuverable as everything else, and half the time she's more trouble than she's worth.
Correct. I mean...
Sorry, I missed that. Who were we talking about? Denatra?
Times.
Who were we talking about? Sorry. I was reading Joseph's. Denatra? Yeah.
Putting Denatra on a little tiny ship, behind the other big ones to buff.
Yeah. We're more of a fan of Martok on the Science Vessel.
I am.
If you're
That's
going
me.
to have somebody way back, then you might as well be giving out a free action.
Yeah, that's why I like Mendak back there.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
The one that gives the Romulan admiral that grants a battle stations token.
That's correct.
Yes. Let's see. So Joseph says, our biggest fear was fighters. Once we knew there was a planet, we figured one cloaked mine would be enough to slow the fighters down. Then it came just to dealing with Daniel's build. That was what they tested against for the most part. Julian on the science vessel gave them the advantage in the first pass because, of course, that means you would have to split up your fire instead of focusing down one guy. And didn't worry about cloaked fleets because no one cares about cloaked fleets. Oh, sorry. Probably just beat them because of the transwarps can force anything using advanced cloak out of cloak, and then you can kill their shields. Yeah, the transwarp signal forces them to take the auxiliary power tokens, and they can't recloak without it.
Like I said, just randomly good.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and Joseph was actually running a slightly varied build, which I believe included what was it? Conditional surrender and Alpha Herogen.
What was this?
Maybe.
Joseph and Peter the champion were running slightly different builds. Same ships and everything, but instead of Car, he was running an Alpha Herogen with conditional surrender.
Oh.
But yeah.
Just for an extra attack negation, but
Between feedback pulse and conditional surrender and heck, if he managed to, I don't know if it said he fit another crewman on it. Did he fit another crewman on there?
well, he would have to.
Yeah, 2nd of 5 and 4 of 5 on the sideboard. So he could conditional surrender with one crewman on the ship. He could sideboard another crewman on the ship to conditional surrender a second time, and that all combined with feedback pulse. That's 3 attack negations in one game.
Which is, I mean, that's your magic number, right? Like Will is, I think he's mentioned this on the show a couple times, but Will has always said that the losing, the twice or 3 times per turn attack negation wasn't really that big of a deal because you only need to negate once per turn in like 3 or 4 of the course of a game, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just how much attack negation do you really need? It was one of the shows we did.
Yeah.
It was like, infinite is nice, but in the end, really, all you need is like 3 or 4. And that was what we talked about a little bit with the lore Sung 7 crew thing that I saw at North Carolina. It had, I don't think it was quite infinite. Yeah, because it was using lore instead of one of the recoveries. But it had enough negations in there that it should win against most things that an infinite attack negation would work against.
Right, and I mean, let's look, Daniel. How many rounds did your games go? Did any of them go more than like 5?
On day 2, the only one that went the distance was the Romulan guy, and he was just murdering me with his defense dice. I mean, it just didn't matter how much damage I put on him. His defense dice were rolling hot and all them cloakers, and he was negating everything. We fought and fought and fought and fought, and he outpointed me in the end, not by a whole lot, but it went the full hour. The other ones, I'm going to say went to about halftime, and we're talking about 4, maybe 5 rounds at most.
Right. So in other words, if your game's going 4 or 5 rounds and you're negating 3 attacks against your ship, like that right there is that's going to be half the attacks you see at least.
Correct. That's definitely going to extend out the game and give you a better chance to whittle down those Borg that have no way to defend against any kind of firepower or negate anything if they're coming pure firepower.
Let's see. Anything else about this? This list looks, not the championship list, but Joseph's list looks like it might be a little bit more susceptible to the captain killing, because without a captain, conditional surrender doesn't work.
Yeah. Though to be fair, I mean, if you lose Carr on that on Peter's list, like that's a lot,
Yeah, but then you
I'm
still
not even
have
sure.
Picard.
I'm not even sure that's that big of a deal because I think that they would rather go after Picard when he comes off the sideboard.
Oh, yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah, the only real thing I see with that build is the whole sideboard issue, and just how clunky that is, and how slow and inefficient it is. I mean, it's nice to get those bonus points in, but that's always been the argument against that. Is just how inefficient it really is.
How many actions it takes. But the nice thing about this one is he used up all his points in only 3 cards. When you're looking at 5 cards, it becomes a real problem because round 5, you're usually well into the attacking scheme of things.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you never use sword to get something every single round. You should not be using it to capacity, basically. You use it, because you could pay 10 points and go on your limit for transphasics, or you could get a sideboard, and just take an extra action and get you some transphasics. I mean, look, the sideboard's going to be gone by the time we get to Origins, which makes me very sad. I love sideboard.
I think the ruling is that everything up to the Q continuum is usable, that they're not going to phase out anything for Worlds, was the way
Really?
how I saw it.
And I don't know if that was in the Nationals one. I'm not sure if that was in because they haven't released a Worlds version yet. So there is a possibility that they might change it since it's a month later.
Gotcha. I talked to the guy from WizKids there, and he said it's basically Nationals was just like the regionals, pretty much. The same setup and all that. And he said it's basically the same thing at Worlds. Same rules.
Well, I was going to say, between regionals and nationals, they actually added 6 waves of worth of stuff that was legal. So there is the possibility that the difference between nationals and worlds will also add the extra wave or 2 of stuff that happens in between.
Yeah, and the difference between the regionals and the nationals was there was no buy-in that you had to account for. You just got to come with your best 120.
Oh, yeah, that was pretty nice.
That was nice because 90's pretty tough to work around.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and the other thing is World going to care about the OP resource retirements?
Like I said, they didn't care about it at Nationals, so I'm going to assume probably not at Worlds either. And then after Worlds, they're going to hit that retirement hard.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty easy because after Worlds, if you assume that the next major event, if they do regionals next year, it should start around the same time, which was like what, September? So by then, pretty much most of the resources will be gone. Certainly from Dominion War and the episodes, they'll be well into collective by then, I should think.
Mm-hmm. At that point, we're back up to what, fleet captains and probably officer exchange program.
Oh, officer exchange program is going to be it. Like the instant fleet captains go out, there's going to be 1 resource blade ever.
Unless they come up with something new that's also just as good.
For all the complaining early on about the flagship, you don't really even see that resource used a whole bunch anymore.
Mm-hmm. The 50-point limit hurt it quite a bit.
Oh yeah.
But I would find a way to use it. I know Tucker was looking at ways to use it when we were looking at all the new cards that just got announced today.
Oh my God! Yeah, no, I have some ridiculous ideas with the Equinox. Like, you wind up with a ship that's got like 5 shields and improved deflector screens and can regenerate them every turn. It's with 4 attack dice. It's ridiculous.
Yes. Let's see. Oh, but before we get too far away from Origins, guys, register for Origins. There are currently like 6 players registered for all of the attack wing qualifiers and the D&D attack wing qualifiers.
That's by the way, that's out of 256 available slots.
Yeah, 128
They're
for
going
each
to allow
side.
128 in each event.
128 per event, and I'm pretty sure that some of those 6 players are double booking.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
They're not going to get 128 players. I'm not even bothering to register. I'm just picking up the drop-in tokens because they're like a quarter of the price.
The generic tickets? Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one.
Well, if you register for it, if you pre-register for it, it's $10 on the site. And for those of you who don't know, who haven't done the Origins things before, once you've registered for Origins, you have to go back to edit your badge, go through go through each of the different screens, and you'll eventually get to an itinerary, which is important because that is where you will start adding individual events. They actually have the event programming grid, which you can download and search for what events you want, and then you search and register online so that you guarantee yourself a slot.
You were talking about the tokens. What exactly are those tokens for? Because I seen the option on there, but had no idea what they do.
Aside
so
from,
do is,
all right, go ahead, Tucker.
sorry, what they do is, what you do is, if let's say you register for a bunch of events, then you buy some generic tokens. The way they work is, if you see an event you like at the thing that you didn't sign up for, you can drop in using one of those tokens as long as they have open slots.
Gotcha. Yeah, well, with Star Trek Attack Wing, that's not going to be a problem because, guesstimates that I put out and which sounds like everybody says I'm being generous, is I'm thinking we're going to see maybe 40 players show up total.
Oh, look, if you combine, I think this is true, if you combined literally that has attended a high-level event at this game, including doubles, it would not fill one of the qualifiers.
Which is a sad state of affairs for such a wonderful game.
Indeed. But yeah, we got once you get into the badge markers, you go for your attack. Just look for attack wing, miniatures, search, bam, world qualifiers. Things you want to be looking for. I'm currently registered just for 1-on-1. There are 122 slots left for the D&D Attack Wing, and there's 124 slots left for the Star Trek Attack Wing.
Oh, and just in case people don't do what I did, please make sure which Attack Wing qualifier you're registered for. I accidentally registered for the D&D ones first. Womp womp.
Oops.
And make sure you're registering for a qualifier, too, because they just have some small minis in there, too, mixed in. So, and it's a pretty ugly-looking screen with all these long words on it, that if you don't, that long title, if you're not paying attention to what title, you might get in the wrong thing.
That's correct. You know what? You can search by event number, and I have that in the chat somewhere. It's 17... I want to say 79 and 1780. Is that right?
Hold on, I just closed the window. Never mind. Yeah, they actually have the individual event numbers on there. If I can open up my event grid. Yeah, if you search just by the number, you will find just that single event, the 4-digit event code. And that's a good thing. We need people to sign up for these things so we know who's going on. And we don't have 100 people. We don't have 100 people register at the last minute with $2 tickets. Oh, that was the thing I was saying. If you register, with just the generic tickets, it's $2 per ticket, and it's $16, whereas pre-registration is only $10.
Okay, so just FYI, the event codes are, I believe, 1478 and 1479.
And let's see, the one on Thursday starts at 6 o'clock, and the one on Friday starts at 10 a.m. I know that.
So you've got an evening one and a morning one. You've got 2 different days. So there's definitely a way you can find to make room for one of them, even if you were kind of eh. Let's see. Star Trek Attack Wing World Qualifier, 1479 and 1489.
They changed one of the numbers then.
D&D is 1478 and 1488.
Well, that's...
Oh, sorry, I lied. That's the World Finals.
Will, I told you!
What? Well, you can't register for the World Finals, damn it. 1469 and 1.
Be there.
It's 1469 and 1479.
Okay, there we go. Then 1468 and 1478 must be for D&D. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So if it ends in 9, you're looking for Q and Star Trek. If it ends in 8, you're looking at D&D. Let's just confuse everybody. I love confusing everybody.
People are dragging me back into D&D, and it's bad. It's bad, man.
Well,
So
if
many
you live within a couple hours, get up there and play. Let's get a big turnout for this.
Oh, hey, by the way, major gaming news. Fantasy Grounds just released their D&D tabletop through Steam for free.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
So
now if you
I'm
wanted to
sure-
play, if you ever had an RPG group that kind of lost its way and fell apart, you can now do D&D online with everybody.
yeah,
Nice.
I mean, look, somebody out there who listens to the show is going to care.
Oh yeah, we're all gaming nerds, right?
That's all
Oh,
of us.
absolutely.
All right. Let's see. Anything more we want to say about nationals and worlds right now? A little shorter than I thought it was going to be.
I will be available for fleet building
For fleet building.
and bouncing
Yeah.
ideas off of.
Dave,
That's
Oh.
my role.
You're not going to be at Origins, Dave.
I have monetary constraints.
These things happen.
Oh yeah.
These
Sad.
things happen.
Tucker's gonna be there, probably hitchhiking the entire way.
No, what? No. No, it actually it coincides with a term break in graduate school, and I am lucky enough that the only reason I can afford to do this is I have family in Columbus, so I am actually going to be spending a lot of time visiting family. I'm very excited. I'm getting to meet some family members for the first time, so that's cool.
Gotcha. And see, Joseph in chat just proved why I'm talking about this, because he's never been to a con like this. Do you have to get a 3-day badge to play? Actually, it's a 5-day badge,
Yeah.
and you don't necessarily need it. You just
a badge on there, but I couldn't find it anywhere because I only planned to be there for the 3.
But I don't think you necessarily need it as long as you have actually the access and the pre-registration for it, because you should be able to pre-register for events just having the individual days you need, and that's a good thing.
So
Or like Tucker said.
So
Yeah, or like Tucker said, just with the generic tickets. When you get there, the generic tickets are $2 tickets. They're your other way to get entrance into other events. You're basically on the waiting list. So if there's space, they add you in, and sometimes it costs a little bit more. But
speaking of worlds, how many people you think are going to show up with that one strange build that they're going to bring to try to just defeat the Borg?
I think a lot of people are going to bring a build they think is good against the Borg.
And then the Borg are going to smash them.
Repeatedly and awfully.
Because you always see somebody every so often comes up with something that just seems to work because you didn't think of that one thing.
I always hear the stories of, oh, Borg are easy to beat. I beat them all of the time. And I've
with
never
my
seen
Romulans with no quality. Uphill both ways.
Here's the thing. There are 2 levels of Borg players. There are the high-level Borg players on this show and Canadian nationals and stuff like that. And then there are people who play Borg who think that they are good with the Borg.
You win a few games, you think you're good with the Borg, but
contrary to popular belief, we are the Borg, but not all Borg are amazing.
Yeah. So, and those are the Borg that are easily beaten. Now, I'm not saying
if you strategize enough.
In fact, I'm going to categorize us into two different categories. So we have Q-Who Borg, that's like us, and then we have Voyager Borg.
Yeah. So, I'm not saying the Borg are invincible, but the Borg are pretty darn amazing.
Indeed.
So, yeah. So, are there people that are going to show up who are going to have builds tailored to take on the Borg? Oh, yeah.
Because everybody wants to be that guy to say he did it. He won that big event and didn't use Borg. He beat all them Borg guys.
Oh yeah, I beat the Borg at Worlds. Look at me. Yeah, because they were jousting with you.
But, no, Worlds is going to be one with Borg.
And
heard it here.
Depending on what people are bringing for it, or trying to bring against it, is going to largely depend on what sets are going to be allowed, because a lot of bombs just got dropped in the last day.
Yeah, seriously. But the fact of the matter is this, okay? Including the results from U.S. and Canadian nationals, aside from fighters and the Romulan science vessel, no winning list has included a ship that could not fire 360 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
What was it that Carl Godwin won with that? He was using like a Voyager with a dorsal
Voyager.
lens array.
No, Voyager has a natural 360. He was using Voyager with transphasics and weighing barrel.
Mm-hmm.
So he's doing a little
Trust
negation
me, I
on
remember.
360.
Yeah.
And there was another one that was just a Voyager and an Enterprise D, each kind of lightly loaded up.
That was the last one. And then, of course, Voyager won Texas, but that's only because nobody ran Borg. So every other event has been won by a list that is primarily Borg.
Mm-hmm.